Morning, peeps. I'm back. And the first thing we have to talk about that video. That video that FPL Nightmare put out yesterday is absolutely fantastic. That's the best, well-produced, most imaginative video on FPL that I've ever seen and probably will never see again. Absolutely superb. A couple of weeks ago we were talking and we came up with the idea of collaborating on one of my walking videos. I went out and did a recording. I went over towards the West Coast and it was absolutely amazing. Absolutely. It could not have been scripted better. The parrot stole my muffin. It's rare parrots turned up. Stole my muffin, caused chaos, answered all my FPL questions perfectly, squawked in all the right places. And I gave a video to Nightmare, who then went and interpreted it. But I did not expect him to come up with an entire squad for the season. But absolutely brilliant. Go back and watch my video where I went and filmed it, and then watch Nightmare's video where he interprets clues. Absolutely fantastic. Unbelievable. I'm absolutely speechless with it. Incredible work. Absolutely incredible, peeps. And on the back of that, there's a bit of a lull in FPL at the moment. I don't know about you, but it feels like there's a bit of a lull in FPL. We've all done our drafts and seen countless draft videos and all that type of thing. We're all a bit sick of it. And we're now kind of waiting for things to happen, aren't we? Well, this fills the void because this is absolutely amazing. And like I said, on the back of it, I've actually gone and Muffin the Kia now has its own team. So the Parrot Peeps is now playing team. It was too good not to sign up, really. Because it knew the answers, knew better than you lot, and it's now got the best team. So your job is to try and beat the Parrot. And to be honest, I think you're going to struggle because some of the drafts I've seen that you lot have put out are nowhere near the quality of Muffin's. So think on, peeps. So we're going to have a look at Muffin's team now, because the cat, sadly last year, passed away. And the new cat, she's just not interested in FPL. I've tried to get her involved, but she's not keen, peeps. So Muffin Nakia has stepped in, and this is her team, or his team. So we'll go and have a quick look at it. And I think you'll agree it's pretty good. I mean, this is all based on the clues that FPL Nightmare came up with in that video yesterday. Virtually all of these players were mentioned in that video. And he was struggling to put a team together that fitted into the budget. But I've refined it, and thanks to Belieber, have managed to make it within budget. So let's have a look at this team. It's a bench boost team. The Parrots team had the bench boost. I met him while sitting at a bench. It came onto that bench, stole my muffin. So if that isn't a sign that it wants to play bench boost, I do not know what is. So Sanchez in goal. Kelleher's the backup. In the video, Kimsky was the backup. But if Kimsky looks like starting, then he will come back in. Otherwise, it will be Kelleher for the purposes of the bench boost. Kimsky may well come back in after that. Defence, Anya, 8 Nori, Virgil van Dijk, Van Heck and Konsa. A very good little defence there. I think you'll agree. And not many people go with Anya. Is cheaper than the central defenders for Forest because probably will be getting less defensive contributions, but correspondingly is cheaper, which helps with making a nicer bench boost. So Palmer, Wirtz has to be captain. The Parrot was very, very clear on Wirtz being the captain. So there was no option there. We had to make Wirtz captain. Haaland, a lot of clues for Haaland from Frozen and elsewhere. And Haaland had to come in. And this is a really nice looking Haaland team. Very nice team. Got Chris Wood, who could start the season like he started the last one. Very good fixtures for Brentford. Being slightly overlooked, I think, Chris Wood. If he does turn out to be good, there are plenty of alternatives. Bowen's in there. He looked in fine form the other day in his friendly game. And he's enough of a Sunderland match. Anderson, the Geordie Maradona, as Nightmare likes to say, had to come in. Very cheap, of course, which helps with all of these teams. He's a very good enabler, Anderson. And the same with Belieber. I mean, there are no 4.5 midfielders, really, this season that look to be worth bothering with. So, might as well go with Belieber. I mean, if it's more aesthetically pleasing for you, we can put him on the bench. This is a bench boost anyway, but he will be kind of the fifth midfielder as we go along. A Dingra will turn into Granit Xhaka. The video is very clear. Gunners, Arsenal, Swiss Mountain Village. To me, it all pointed towards Granit Xhaka, and he will come in for a Dingra should he be available for game week 1. Otherwise, I will stick with a Dingra, who could do very well in game week 1. Sunderland have spent quite a bit of money, haven't they? They're buying decent players. It looks like they're actually going to try and stay up. And traditionally they're quite a big club, aren't they, Sunderland? And rather than accept their fate before the season even begins, they're actually going for it, which is to be commended, I think. I mean, these things can backfire, can't they? Because they end up being relegated again. And then they're stuck with all these old has-beens like Granit Xhaka and other players like that. And then they're in a bit of financial trouble, So it's a tough decision, isn't it, for those teams? Whether to just, like Ipswich kind of didn't spend much money last season, but they've gone down in good shape and in good shape to get back up again. But they did go down. So, it's a difficult decision whether they should spend money to try and stay up or just not mess up their wage structure and everything and keep their club in good financial shape. But, it'd be great if Sunderland did stay up, wouldn't it? Because, like I said, they're quite a big club, really. They could replace maybe Brentford could go down this year, or Wolves, or one of those sort of teams. But it's quite a bit of a gulf, I think, between the promoted sides and the rest normally. But anyway, this team looks pretty good, for a bench boost. And I must say, I watched above average FPL the other day. I was a bit annoyed because I was out working all day, and I was thinking about my bench boost, and I thought, why not just play the bench boost in just like a random week, and not give it any thought whatsoever? Just forget it exists. And then whichever week I think I've got a full team, just press the button. And basically not throw any resources at the bench boost. And I thought, I'll go home and I'll do a video on it. And I got home and I started watching above average FPL. And within like 5 minutes, they'd come up with the same idea. They got in before I did. And but I'm thinking the way to do it is just not throw any resources at it, because we see so often with a bench boost, if you're using a wild card to recover from it or doing it, it's not worth it, because I reckon this first bench boost without a double game week is only worth about 10 points. I'd be happy with 10 points. And when you think about it, that's only 2.5 points for each player on your bench. So, as long as the most important thing is everybody turns up. If all your players turn up, which is the hard part of a bench boost, isn't it? I mean, last season, I got Wan-Bissaka in specifically for the bench boost. I changed my team and planned for that bench boost, and it was a disaster. I got 4 points. So I thought, well, why bother even planning for it? Because you can't plan for a manager suddenly leaving out a player, or someone gets COVID or a flu or something during the week and doesn't tell anybody, and you end up with no full team anyway. So I thought, why bother chucking resources at it and just play it in a random week? So I'm thinking, game week 1 or just a random week, because my own one, I'm playing it in game week 1, but I'm not throwing any resources at it. Do you see what I mean? And it's the same with the parrot here, because these players on the bench are all very low price players. Baliba's 5, Conser Van Hecker 4.5, and so's the keeper. So you're not really taking too much out of your starting team to play the bench boost. And I think that's the key point. If you just aim for, 10 points, probably what you'd expect these guys to get. But any clean sheet or anything, or an unexpected assist, and suddenly you've got a very good bench boost. But like I said, the important thing is to get all the players on the pitch. And I think game week 1 is a good opportunity to do that, as long as you don't take risks on players. Like the new Arsenal striker, Gorkies. You could take if you had him in your team, for example, in your bench boosting, and Arteta decides to go with Havertz and give Gorkies his debut when they're at home to Leeds, that would not be a surprise, would it? So if you are playing a bench boost in game week 1, you have to play players that you are pretty sure are going to actually play. So my own one, for example, I don't have Aït-Nouri, because you never know. You never know. And even Sanchez, again, Chelsea and City, I'm very wary of. But you look at people like Virgil van Dijk, Anya, Palmer, Wirtz, Anderson, Adringa, Wood, maybe not Haaland, Bowen, probably Haaland. But you have to think they're all going to play. They'd be very surprised, for example, if the likes of Conser and that aren't playing in game week 1. But I pretty much came to the same conclusion as above average FPL. Sort of, my video was scuppered by seeing theirs, which kind of made exactly the same point. And I think, basically the bench boost, the most important thing is not to throw any resources at it, because it's a bit different for the second one, because you can fill your bench with double game week players. Then it kind of can pay off, making a few extra transfers or whatever to get your bench boost, or having a slightly over expensive bench because of it can be worthwhile when there's 2 fixtures. But with 1 fixture, it really isn't worth getting too worked up about, I think, which is why I'm just going to play it and get it over with. Then I don't have to think about it or worry about it or plan for it or any of those other things that you have to do. So that's about it, peeps. And the other thing, FPL General has caused a bit of a stir this week, hasn't he? Because he's decided he's going to go without Haaland and Salah for the entire season. We saw with FPL WAG last season, last 2 seasons actually, she's gone without any Man City players, and she's done fine. I think it's 100k, she'll be in the top 1% league again this season, and it is possible. So FPL General, I think, has obviously become a bit jaded with the game, not been enjoying it, and he's decided this is a way to spice it up. And quite a lot of people have gone and joined his league. I mean, myself, my own team doesn't have Haaland or Salah at the moment, but I wouldn't go as far as to rule them out for the entire season. If Haaland does fire up and they've got double game weeks and stuff, then you're being a bit silly, I think, if you force yourself not to have him, because if he does turn out to be absolutely fantastic. But I can see this season is probably the best season if you are going to avoid them. This is the best season to do it, because especially with Salah, because I don't see how anyone can justify being 14.5 million. and all we're going to get is regression. I mean, he's still going to be very good value. He can still score 2 goals on the first game week and give captainers a really good start to the season. But there's no way he comes anywhere near his points, I think, for last season. And I think it's fair to take him on, you know. But as FPL General says, you know, he wants to have a bit of fun. But we often see that having fun in FPL normally turns out to be the exact opposite, doesn't it? You know, it's like, oh, I'm going to do something different for a bit of fun, you know, and then it all goes tits up, and it doesn't turn out to be very much fun at all, does it? When you're kind of languishing at 4 million, and it's all gone wrong. You know what I mean? So, but hats off to him. Hats off to him for trying something different, because everything's become far too similar, hasn't it, lately? Although, to be honest, when we looked at those drafts on the late night lock-in the other night, very, very different. Everyone had very different teams, and it's very refreshing. So this season, it does look like there isn't, as yet, a really strong template, which is good. Anyway, peeps, that's about it. What should we do? We'll have a quick look at Reddit and see what's going on there, shall we? Let me check what I'm doing here. Where am I? That's good. The parrots covering up all my dodgy things that I look at on Reddit. Right, let's have a look here. So, Ekiteki, who was another one mentioned in the video yesterday, wasn't he? Ekiteki. And couldn't fit him in, unfortunately, because 3 other players were also mentioned as strikers. So him and Wirtz played in a front 2 during training. Probably doesn't mean a great deal, but something to watch out for in upcoming friendlies. Someone's got some more ticker lists. We're all a bit sick of seeing these ticker lists, aren't we? And they're all different. And right, Gakpo. They're not expecting to source a direct replacement for Diaz, and Gakpo's expected to play more often, apparently. Well, I thought that if they get Isaac, then Ekiteke'd be playing there, wouldn't he? That's what I was expecting. But maybe Isaac's not actually going to turn up. Maybe it's just an elaborate ploy by Isaac to get a much better contract out of Newcastle. Who knows? Who knows, peeps? People talking about Chelsea rotation. They are just buying somebody from Ajax, aren't they, who plays in the same position as Cucurella. Hato, that's the one. He's the youngest ever captain for Ajax. Very good head on his shoulders. You know, very good young player. And he may well give Cucurella a rest occasionally. What else have we got here? People talking about Kudos. He is a bit of a... I mean, he's not been very good for FPL, has he, Kudos? I mean, I know he's great on the wing and he likes dribbling and all that sort of thing. But dribbling and that doesn't get you FPL points, does it? That's the thing. And although he looks good and is exciting and all that, whether he's going to get many points is a bit of a moot point, isn't it? But at 6.5 million, I think he's going to be popular. Now, Anthony Robinson, as we will see in my team tomorrow on the pubcast, because it's a pubcast tomorrow, 6 p.m. Myself, Andrew will be on it as well, D-Unit and Gary. We're going to be looking at our teams and talking about various other stuff. And Anthony Robinson is now, in fact, in my team. I had him for a lot of last season. He was great in the first half of the season, but it turned out he had an injury. He was carrying an injury, which is probably why his form dropped off. And he's since had an operation to fix it. So hopefully we're going to get the old Anthony back. Anyone taking Haaland? Well, we've seen the Parrots certainly is. Parrots taking Haaland. People talking about attacking defenders. I'll tell you what, though, as soon as Aït Nouri gets a brace, everyone will forget all about defensive contributions and they'll all be flying in on him. It's interesting because they're up against his old club Wolves in the first game. Now, he's either going to play and absolutely love it, or, Wolves have said to him, have said, maybe they've got a gentleman's agreement where he doesn't even play against Wolves. You just wouldn't know, would you? You just wouldn't know. But I'd like to have Aït-Nouri, but I'm put off by rotation risks. And Pep has said that players that were playing in the Club World Cup are going to be eased back in, even though they got knocked out pretty early, didn't they? Not like Chelsea peeps. City were home. I don't know what Pep's going on about, They played a couple of games, got beat by Saudi Arabian team, and off they went. So they didn't play much more than any other teams, really, did they? They only missed a week of their holidays. He's back. Xhaka's back. The parrot pick is back. And he was pretty good at Arsenal, wasn't he? He started off playing defensively and then further forward. If he is playing defensively, he could get a load of defensive contribution points. But I think he's going to be a bit further forward than that. Really good passer. People saying he's old, but I mean, he's only 32. You know what I mean? Youngster. All right, so what are we doing here? That's about it. I think people talking about 4 million defenders, of which there are quite a few. And what have we got here? Well, I don't know why people go there in the first place, to be honest. So nothing but complaints about them. Don't get me started, peeps. Don't get me started. Someone's saying hold fire on Gorkies. I think you have to. He's missed pre-season because he was so busy sulking before he signed for Arsenal that he didn't really do any training with his Turkish team, I think, or whoever it is, his Portuguese team. So, he's going to be behind fitness compared with Havertz. So I don't think game week 1 is the time to bring him in. People will bring him in for game week 2, but then again, the fixtures are bad again after that. So I think really you suck it up and wait. I'm on Watkins, and Watkins' fixtures up until game week 7 are really good. And that coincides with Arsenal's fixtures becoming good. So keep Watkins for 7 weeks, then change to Gorkies once Arsenal have got good fixtures and you've seen how good he is. That's the sensible approach, I think. But whether I'll be sensible or not is another matter. Apparently the 1 and the 10% leagues are finally active. So now if you don't know whether you made it or not, you can actually go and have a look. People saying FPL is too complicated for the casual players. And the reason I was so against the new defensive contributions is not the actual rule itself, but the fact that it's not easy for the casuals to find out the information. If people that have joined Scout or whatever and paid for stats, we all know, basically, you've sort of forces you to do that. But you've got a big advantage over the casuals once you've done that. And I don't like to see that, because they should have the same quality as stats on the main site. If they're going to bring in a rule like that, then the stats should be very clear on the actual FPL website so that people can go and check how many extra points people would have scored over last season and all of that type of thing. But because they're not, it's just going to be very confusing for your kind of part-time casual players. It means we'll all finish in the top 100k again and tell ourselves how great we are and all that lot of bollocks, when really it's just because we've got untold advantages. Or look at FPL review and all of that sort of thing, and get team leaks and all that sort of shady going on. And that's another thing, peeps. Why, oh why, did they not change the deadline? That's all been forgotten in all this. The deadline not changing. Very bad, very bad. Just Forest have got a new replacement for Alanga. And Doi, who's another winger. So pretty much Forest haven't really lost anybody, have they, really, as it turned out? They just replaced Delanger with this character. So Forest could do well again this season. I think the problem last season was that they got tired. They got tired, didn't they? It caught up with them. They were very much in the race for the top four. And about game week 30, the wheels sort of fell off a bit, didn't they? Not such a deep squad. And, but summer off, they could well start the season well again, couldn't they, before they start their Europa League? So I think that's the time to own them, is before Europa League starts. Maybe on the wild card and they've got the Thursday night fixtures, then it'll be time to kind of shift them out. But they look decent enough to start with. Nice fixtures, nice fixture against Brentford in the first match. Here's somebody put the Brighton team up. Now, I was on Kuiper. However, Kadioglu is pretty good as well. And that's kind of put me off Kuiper a little bit. The fact that there is an alternative available for them, a decent one, who could get some games. And we don't know really with De Kuiper because he's come from another league. And, he's kind of a risk. So I'm avoiding all players that are kind of risky. Belieber should be good for defensive points. So that's about it, peeps. The Parrot has spoken. The Parrot has made its team. This is it. And I think you'll agree it's a very good team. I mean, there are so many good teams. You look at people's drafts. I think I was rating everybody 8 out of 10 the other night. And they're all different, but they're all good in their own way. And this is why you don't need to copy content creators or do any of those sort of things. Because it's quite possible to get a good team pretty easily this season. And the first thing you've got to do, though, peeps, is get over here and look at this. Look at that. That's a giant mower there, peeps. And they're trying to bring that back. Did you know that? They're trying to recreate them and bring them back. Well, I don't think we really want that, do we? I know I blooming don't. Because you get quite a shock, wouldn't you? And run into one of those things. Anyway, peeps, I'm off now. I'll talk to you all later. And turn up for the pubcast tomorrow night. All proceeds going to charity. It's kicking off at 6 p.m. UK time tomorrow. So cheers for now then, peeps.